Wading boots are a key piece of fly fishing equipment. You've probably already got a pair, especially if you're fishing rivers and lakes and pretty much anywhere in the northern half of the country. But in this video, we're gonna take a deep dive into how to pick your next pair of wading boots and how to get all of those details just right. We're gonna break down wading boots into 5 key features, and those are sizing, soles, studs, features, and price. So let's get started. Up first is sizing, and it's probably the most important thing when picking wading boots. A lot of us, and certainly a lot of customers at Trident, don't have access to a local store where they can try on boots. And so if you don't already know your size, this is how to pick the right size. And it's actually pretty simple. And the first rule of thumb is go up 1 full size. And this isn't going to apply for every single brand out there because I haven't tried them all, but for the brands that we carry, Corkers, Simms, Orvis, to name a few, generally speaking, if you're gonna wear your wading boots under waders, you're gonna wanna go up a full size. So that means if you wear a size 10 sneaker, you're probably gonna wanna wear an 11 wading boot. If you wear a size 10.5 sneaker, you're probably gonna wanna go up to a 12 wading boot. And this is really gonna apply for pretty much everybody, but if you've got a really narrow foot, you might wanna think about sizing down a little bit. Similarly, if you've got a really wide foot, you might need to go up a little bit further. Now that we've figured out your size, it's time to try on your boots. And the most important thing when trying on wading boots is to try them on exactly like you're gonna be wearing them in the water. So don't put on a pair of tube socks and stick your foot in because they're just not gonna fit. These boots are designed to fit under waders and a pair of fairly thick socks. So that's what you're gonna need to do when you try them on, when you get them at home. And now that we've got our boots on, it's time to walk around and check them out. You're gonna wanna make sure that they're comfortable, they're not too tight or too loose, and that they're giving you the right amount of ankle support. And now let's talk about soles. In general, there are gonna be 2 types of soles that come with most wading boots. Of course, we're gonna talk about the Corker system a little bit later, which you can interchange to any sole, but by and large, even if you buy a pair of Corkers, they're gonna come with either 2 rubber soles or a felt and a rubber sole. And if you buy pretty much any other brand, your options are gonna be either felt or rubber. Now let's talk about some of the differences and why you might wanna choose felt over rubber. Felt is gonna have great traction in the water. It's proven over time. It's just a fantastic material for wading in rivers. Unfortunately though, in recent years, we found that felt also traps microorganisms, and that's led to making it illegal, and it's definitely environmentally not so friendly in a lot of areas. However, if you're fishing a single watershed, felt is okay. Or if you're really, really anal about drying them out and sanitizing them every time you fish, felt is still okay. Felt has another benefit over rubber, which is that it's actually much lighter typically, which is nice to have, especially if you're doing a lot of hiking. Felt does have one downside though, and that's generally speaking, you can't fit really huge studs like these into felt. So if you're looking for really, really extreme traction in super, super slippery environments, you might want to think about a rubber sole. Now, rubber, on the other hand, has the main benefit of being environmentally friendly. However, on its own, rubber tends not to have very much traction. In fact, I would say if you're fishing a plain rubber sole, it's maybe even a little bit dangerous to wade a lot of rivers. So you're definitely gonna wanna have a set of studs if your wading boots have rubber soles. And that brings us to our third point, which is studs. So if you're new to fly fishing and you're wondering what a stud is, it's this guy. But in terms of wading boots, these are studs right here. They're simply little pieces of usually almost always metal that screw in to the bottom of your sole. Or in the case of Corkers, come screwed in to the bottom of your sole. And what studs do is give you added traction in the water. Because, like we mentioned before, rubber soles are not so great at providing traction on their own. You screw in a couple of studs and voila, you're no longer slipping and sliding all over the river bottom. And studs come in a variety of shapes, sizes, colors, and they're sometimes called cleats, but fundamentally they're all pretty much the same. And there are going to be two basic choices when it comes to materials. You're going to have carbide studs, like these Simms Hard Bite cleats, and you're going to have aluminum, like these Simms aluminum studs, or these Corkers aluminum barred soles. And they both have some pros and cons. Carbide is the traditional choice for sure, and you can get them in small, tiny carbide or a much bigger, heavier carbide. And generally speaking, it's going to provide great grip on a really wide range of surfaces. It cuts through algae and all kinds of underwater vegetation really well, and it's generally what we recommend for most situations. However, there are some rocks and some rivers that tend to not work so well with carbide. Sometimes the carbide won't bite into the rock and it'll just slide around like you're ice skating. And in those situations, there's aluminum, and whether it's stud or bar or sole form, aluminum provides, in my opinion, very good traction as well, but generally speaking, not quite as good as carbide. One positive though is aluminum studs, particularly the small kind that you screw into the bottom of your wading boots, tend to be lighter than the carbide option. On the other hand, because aluminum isn't as hard as carbide, it just doesn't last as long. And of course, you've seen me playing around with these Corker soles, and Corkers has a fantastic interchangeable sole. So what that allows you to do is carry multiple different kinds of traction options with you on any trip, or frankly to any river, or even change them while you're out there. It's really great if you want to get the absolute best traction at any given time. And that's going to be in contrast to a Simms boot or an Orvis boot or pretty much any other system out there where these studs are going to be mostly permanently screwed into the bottom of your boot. And now on to features. Wading boots have lots and lots of features, but I've picked out a couple that I think are really sort of more important than the rest to cover. And number one is going to be support. And when I say support, I really mean ankle support. So here we've got the Corkers River Ops boot, which is a really high top, stiff boot. And this boot is going to provide loads and loads of ankle support. And that's going to be in contrast to Simms Flyweight Access here, which is a lightweight hiking boot. And this boot is designed to be a lightweight boot, and therefore it just has less support intrinsically than that Corkers boot. And you might be wondering, why does support matter? I don't need a high top. I'm not a 90s basketball player. Well, when you're walking around in rivers, you're gonna encounter a lot of boulders. And if you don't step on every one of these exactly the right way, which of course nobody does, you might slide or slip or roll, and that tends to twist ankles pretty easily. So more ankle support, less likely that's gonna happen. The next feature that everybody seems to be interested in is lacing systems. And pretty much that's gonna be traditional laces versus BOA. And BOA is a system that allows you to get rid of laces, because who wants those? It's just an easier system that's made its way from the world of snowboarding and golf into wading boots. And I think for people who are really looking to not bend down for super long periods of time and are looking for the easy, simple solution that works even if dexterity is an issue, BOA can be a really great option. On the other hand, if you want that sort of customized fit and the same level of tightness every single time, laces are going to be the better option for you. And laces have the benefit of being the cheaper option as well. For a long time, I really wasn't a fan of the BOA system. It just never got quite tight enough in the right places for me, but this Corkers River Ops BOA is the best one I've seen so far, and it's just a really fantastic boot. If you're looking for something that's burly and has that BOA feature, this is a great one to check out. Up next is drainage, and while it's really hard to determine if a boot has great drainage in a shop or online, it makes a ton of difference on the water. You just don't want to get up, get ready to hike from one spot to the next, only to find out that you're lugging 6 pounds of water in each boot. So you're definitely going to want to figure out if a boot has great drainage or not so great drainage. And one thing to look for is, are there holes on the bottom of the sole, near the bottom of the sole? Figure out where that water's going, and hopefully you'll figure out if you're going to get good drainage in that wading boot. And last but not least is going to be weight. So we've talked about support, which tends to come in these big burly boots. But sometimes, say if you're going on long hikes, if you're fishing New Zealand, or simply if you want a pair of boots that you can travel with and not have to pay that excess baggage, you're going to want a lightweight boot. And boots like this Simms Flyweight Access are really, really light and still perform the duties of a wading boot quite well. And last but not least is price. And wading boots, like everything else, have gotten a lot more expensive. But generally speaking, wading boots are going to start at about $100 and go all the way up to $500 or $600. You're also going to find a variety of styles of wading boot that are going to fit that look that you're going for. Generally speaking, your entry-level boots are going to be a felt sole, fairly lightweight boot that's going to be designed with a lot of cloth. As you go up in price point, you're going to get sort of more of this cladding, and fundamentally you're going to be paying more for a more durable boot. So if you've got a lot of days on the water, like a lot of guides do, these boots are going to hold up in a way that those entry-level boots are not. And as we get to that sort of middle to high-end range of $200 to $250, you're going to find boots that are going to fit exactly to your needs. They're going to have great features and great drainage and great support, or really lightweight, and that's going to be the spot where you're going to have a lot of choice as to your next wading boot. And now you know everything you need to know to buy your next pair of wading boots. If you have questions about sizing, features, or anything else, give us a call here at Trident at 888-413-5211, where we've got a team of experts ready to help you out. And don't forget to let me know what your favorite wading boots are by leaving a comment in the box below. I'm Ben, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.